Mention the names Hatfield and McCoy, and a very specific cartoonish image usually comes to mind: barefoot men, jugs of moonshine, and an irrational, bloody shooting war sparked by a stolen pig. The historical record details a conflict driven by calculated violence and the collapse of local law. This topographical map of the Tug River Valley shows the setting of the conflict. The river acts as a hard boundary separating West Virginia from Kentucky, physically and politically dividing the communities that lived along its banks. The bloodshed here stemmed from unresolved post-Civil War trauma, fractured legal jurisdictions, and a severe economic divide between the working class and the new industrial elite. Two men stood on opposite sides of the river and the economic divide: William Anderson Hatfield, known as Devil Anse, and Randolph McCoy. In this photograph of the Hatfield clan, the men and boys carry modern lever-action rifles, displaying the organized posture of a local militia. In the late 1860s, the Appalachian Highlands were geographically isolated. Courts and law enforcement were virtually non-existent, leaving residents completely reliant on their extended kin networks for protection and survival. Isolated by geography and abandoned by distant governments, these armed family networks effectively replaced the state as the region's primary authority. The first shots fired between these families happened during the Civil War. Asa Harmon McCoy enlisted in the Union Army, a decision that directly opposed his Confederate-leaning neighbors and even members of his own family. As we can see from the men in these Confederate uniforms, the Tug Valley possessed a deeply rooted, highly organized military culture, a culture that viewed Union loyalists as traitors. When Asa Harmon McCoy returned home with a broken leg in 1865, a local Confederate militia hunted him down. An extra-legal group that included Devil Anse Hatfield's uncle, Jim Vance, murdered Asa as he hid in a cave. Local authorities never prosecuted anyone for the killing. That complete lack of accountability normalized vigilante justice in the valley and left the McCoys harboring a deep, unresolved bitterness. As the region industrialized, Devil Anse Hatfield seized the opportunity. He rapidly expanded his land holdings into a highly lucrative timber empire. This photograph captures his operation's scale. Dozens of workers, draft horses, and massive logs highlight a level of regional wealth few others possessed. Devil Anse used that influence and the local courts to seize a 5,000-acre tract of prime land from a man named Perry Cline. While the Hatfields built immense wealth, Randolph McCoy and his relatives found themselves facing severe economic decline. This economic friction came to a head during the famous 1878 hog trial. Randolph McCoy accused a man of stealing his pig, but the accused man was actually an employee of Devil Anse's timber crew. The theft charge was a proxy attack on the Hatfield operation. This diagram maps how the Hatfield timber payroll reached into the McCoy family tree to secure Selkirk's vote. When surnames are removed, the group split clearly into wealthy employers and the disenfranchised. Corporate loyalty superseded traditional family ties. Physical violence exploded in 1882. After a drunken Election Day brawl left Ellison Hatfield stabbed 26 times, the Hatfields intercepted 3 of Randolph McCoy's sons, tied them to pawpaw bushes in the deep woods, and executed them. Perry Cline, the man who lost his 5,000 acres to Devil Anse, leveraged his political connections in Kentucky to orchestrate state-backed bounties on the Hatfields, using the murders as a means to seek the return of his land. The violence climaxed on New Year's night in 1888. Jim Vance and Cap Hatfield led a raid on the McCoy property, burning the family cabin to the ground and murdering 2 more of Randolph's children as they tried to escape the flames. That nighttime raid crossed an invisible line. A localized dispute transformed into a full-scale jurisdictional crisis, forcing the governors of West Virginia and Kentucky to mobilize against one another. The legal war eventually ended with cross-border posses, an extradition ruling from the United States Supreme Court, and the hanging of a Hatfield relative named Ellison Mounts. Look closely at this group portrait. The institutional crossfire dragged in women, young children, and distant relatives, consuming entire communities along the riverbank. In the 1880s, the national tabloid press stripped away the economic and Civil War realities. They sold a sensationalized stereotype of isolated killers to eager urban readers, creating a myth that persists today. The feud's final historical chapter didn't arrive until 2003, when direct descendants of both families gathered to sign an official, lasting peace treaty. Understanding the true drivers of this conflict, economic disparity, land theft, and systemic trauma, honors the human struggles that forged the heritage of Appalachia.
Thanks for watching. Please join us again next time for more history from the mountains. Don't forget to like and subscribe,